I told him which neighbor his key was with, etc. When he returned and saw everything at his place, he got pretty frantic and called and left me a long message. I was working all day but still didn't want to respond. He asked me to explain because he didn't understand what was happening. The next day I sent another text to clarify that it was over, and he got upset and sent me a bunch of texts in a row about how he didn't understand why I was throwing away everything we had built. He left me an angry voicemail and said he had no idea why I was upset, that he did not accept the breakup because he had no say in it, and that he wanted me to tell him the evil story that I had made up about him to his face. I wasn't going to respond to him and wanted to remain calm, but this upset me, so I sat down to write him this letter. I tried to call him, but I started crying and told him I'd just email him instead. This is what it said. The time we have had apart has given me some good space and time to think. I have had a chance to think about the important things for me in a relationship, and I see that we should not be together from the very start. This trip was made in an insanely disrespectful way. It started with you being given an ultimatum by your female best friend, whom I had never met, that either she or I go on this trip. You picked her. You didn't offer to have her meet me, encourage her to find someone else to come, or consult me at all. That's enough for most people to have a deal breaker right there. However, this is a person who you have a history with. That is not entirely clear to me. You did not tell me this was happening until I asked when the trip to Hawaii would be. You purchased tickets in another very disrespectful situation in which I cooked dinner and had guests present. You choose to go into my room for well over an hour to select tickets with her, and I repeatedly ask you to please come to dinner because you say it will just be a few more minutes each time. There is no reason for doing it at that time and in that situation, seeing as she is in the same time zone as us and has a 9-to-5 job. This makes me feel sick to my stomach. Your dad, mom, and grandparents are all very surprised when we tell them about this trip. It is becoming very obvious that this is a dangerous trip to make with the fragility of our relationship. She arrived at my place very late, and we woke up the next morning so I could take the two of you to the airport after this lead-up. I know you can tell how unhappy I am. I fully, absolutely know you can tell how unhappy I am. You leave, and when I don't respond to your text messages, you text me to tell me that you hope I'm okay and you're going to bed. No call. The rest of the week was rough. My text to you was met with essentially, "I'm sorry you feel this way." You tell me that I'm being unfair. There is no acknowledgement, and there still has been none, that this trip to a effing honeymoon destination, as we have discussed before, could be a crazy and horrible thing to go through with, even with my quasi-blessing. This is not something that people in relationships have to deal with. I guess this is not something that people in relationships do besides me. In the end, all of this is to say that I have felt serious emotional needs go seriously unmet in a way that is a deal breaker for me. There have been some wonderful, very positive times. Still, there has been unnecessary heartache and suffering for me over things that come down to what I can only assume are personal differences. I cannot handle your relationship with me. And I suppose I could ask you to pick between her and me, but that's not what I want to do. I want you to have your best friend, and I want to leave. I did love you, but I'm not about to fight this fight and hear you tell me I'm crazy for not seeing how platonic everything is for the rest of my life. It seems like trying to convince someone to like different food or to have a different favorite color. I am unhappy about this, and I no longer want to feel these feelings. There is no need for this to be mutual. I do not need your permission to break up with you. He wrote me an apologetic email in which he accepted responsibility for most things without any argument, except he denied anything that had to do with his relationship with her making me uncomfortable. He denied that I would be unable to handle their relationship. He said my perspective was the only thing that made the trip bad for me. I told him that trust has to be built and that he put too much strain too early on a relationship in which we had not developed that trust. He agreed and apologized. It ended on a pretty amicable note, but this relationship style doesn't work for me, and I don't feel like his responses to me really healed or changed anything significantly. I stand by my decision at this point.